Hey, I'm Katie, the real estate gal in Denver, Metro, Colorado with BSW Real Estate, and we are on video 7 of the home buying process. We have 9 videos, so we were really close to having covered the home buying process from start to finish. So today we are talking about the inspection, objection, and resolution. On video 6, we talked about the inspection. So the buyers have hired an inspector to look at the home. I always recommend an inspection, whether it be a new build, an ancient home, a little tiny condo or single family, doesn't matter. I always recommend an inspection because you never know what is behind the walls or under the floor, things that you can't see, not necessarily under the floor, but things that you can't see. That's why you're hiring an inspector, to find those tiny itty bitty little things. So you've hired the inspector, you've gotten the report back, and I probably would say the reports are about 50 pages. Sometimes there are photos included, sometimes it's just sentences, depends on the company. So I'd say about 50 pages, and I'd always recommend that the buyers sit with that, they go over it and they look through it to make sure that when they submit an objection, meaning they're gonna go to the sellers and say, hey, I'd like these items fixed, or potentially might back out of the contract. So when they're going through that packet, just take a day or two, as long as it fits with dates and deadlines, which the transactional coordinator and or the real estate agent are going to be on top of you for. You don't have to worry about dates and deadlines. We'll definitely remind you because we don't want this transaction to fall through at all. So go through that packet, take a couple days and let it marinate. It can be, it is stressful because you just found your dream home and now there's all of these things that are wrong with the home, not necessarily wrong, but all of the things that could be corrected so it's up to code, or it might be just a safety concern. So sit through that packet and maybe come up with 5 things that you would want fixed. You don't have to submit an objection. You can say, you know what, the house looks great. We're not going to object. We're just going to move forward. That is totally okay. But if you want to submit something, I'd recommend no more than 5 items. If you give a huge long list to a seller and say, hey, I want all of these things fixed, they might be deterred from fixing any of those things. So pick your top 5 and then submit those to the seller and say, hey, we would like these fixed before we move in. Now, the seller has some options. They can say, no, we are not going to fix anything. We are selling the home as it is. They could say, all right, we're going to fix everything. Sounds good. Or they could say, we will fix, number 2 and number 3, and then the other things are on your own. Another option is, which I actually just had a buyer have this happen to them. There was a crack in the sewer and they wanted that fixed and re-scoped before they moved in. That was the request to the seller. So the seller came back and they said, with the timeline that we're on right now, we can't have this happen unless we want to push the closing date out. We didn't want the closing date pushed. We still wanted to close on that particular day. And so the seller gave the buyers a credit at closing so they can fix that on their own time, that's great. It's pretty much the same thing. So there's 4 different things that a seller could do. And the resolution is met when both the buy side and the sell side come to an agreement. This is a great time for the real estate agents to build a really great relationship so that we're not bickering back and forth with just like little nitpicky little things. So with the negotiation part, so the buyers have submitted an objection. The sellers might come back and say, we'll take this and that. The buyers might then object again and say, just negotiating back and forth. That can happen. It might not just be as easy as submitting and accepting and moving on. But once things are come to agreement, then we move on to the next part, which is the appraisal. That will be in the next video, but that is what we've talked about now, is the inspection objection and inspection resolution. So I'm Katie, the real estate gal in Denver, Metro, Colorado. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is below, or I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. We can talk more about the buying process. We can talk about the selling process, or just what's going on in the market these days. So Katie the Real Estate Gal, Denver Metro, Colorado. Watch out next week for video 8 for the buying process. Then we have one more after that. Take care.